Topping today's news, the National Security Minister talks about the government's crime-fighting strategy entering 2023, the police commissioner addressing the high murder rate and the slow movement of the court cases involving homicides resulting in bail, and the minister responsible for aviation response to U.S.-based airlines who have taken issue with the new overflight fees for using Bahamian airspace. Good evening, Bahamas. I'm Jorino Saunders. This is your JCN Evening News. It's a pleasure to have you join us. With 2022 winding down, many criminal matters do not simply go away at the turn of the new year, as Minister of National Security Wayne Munro outlines how the government will strategize its fight to reduce the ongoing matter of high rates of crime. According to Mr. Munro, the strategy should be deliberate, consistent, and not ad hoc. He says the strategy the government applies will be holistic.
You know, people who are in fact criminals, who are in fact robbing, raping, killing. The police deal with them through policing methods. Once they're caught, we have to take steps now to seek to speed up the court process. We're trying to bring swift justice back. Once they're delivered to the correctional system, we're seeking to put in place a proper high-medium prison with strategies to correct behavior. Because 98% of them will be released back to the community. Prison, to our knowledge, has been a breeding ground of criminals, so we have to stomp that out and reduce the number of criminals created in prison. Now that addresses people who are in fact criminals. The key, though, is to stop people becoming criminals. We have met the inventory of intervention methods depleted over the last 4 years that preceded us.
Minister Munro goes on to reiterate how the government is making efforts to reestablish intervention programs aimed at junior and senior high school students, while also introducing new programs that target primary school students.
We're finding primary school students are showing outrageous behavior as early as grade 2. And so we've introduced the HYPE program and introducing a number of other programs to target them. So we have a holistic program. One, starting out, as the Prime Minister likes to say, prevent crime by preventing people becoming criminals. We're building back police capacity in terms of manpower, in terms of vehicles, in terms of resources.
The National Security Minister says once individuals have become criminals and apprehended, they will move to improve the system of correcting antisocial behavior with the aim of improving the individual's mindset in anticipation of them returning to the society. Like the Minister of National Security suggested that there will be new initiatives within his ministry starting in 2023, the country's top policing officer is committing to the same. With just 2 days before the start of 2023 and the murder rate in the Bahamas standing at 127 for the year, Commissioner of Police Clayton Fernandez says since coming into his role as commissioner, their goal was to keep the murder count below 100. However, that was not the case, but he says there will be some changes in 2023.
We try, as I indicated, mid-year. I just took office in July, almost half of the year I took office, and we saw that the increase in murders, we re-strategized. I indicated that we may have held the line to keep it under 100, but it was not to be. We are strategizing, and you will see a new initiative moving forward into 2023.
Commissioner Fernandez says moving into 2023, his aim is to completely close murder cases once the accused appears before the courts.
When last have you seen a murder trial completed in the Supreme Court? We continue to say the individuals continue to get bail and they are killed, or they end up committing another murder and somebody is dead. When last this year, 2022, you have seen a murder trial completed? I remember as a young officer working out the CID, dealing with investigation. I was in Supreme Court, one downstairs and the judge waiting for me on another matter. That's how fast the matters was moving through the court. And I believe we need to fix that, and we will fix that moving forward.
So far, according to the commissioner, the police investigators have solved over 60 murder cases this year. A task force aimed to address the backlog of cases awaiting trial will be established, according to Minister of National Security Wayne Monroe, who also announced the return of the Swift Justice Initiative during an update to the reporters on what came out of the meeting between himself and Chief Justice Ian Winder. According to Minister Monroe, the public should know that crime can be monotonous.
We have a responsibility, all of us. We continue to have children. These children continue to grow up. Some of them continue to become criminals. We have to interrupt the process. We have executed on the proposed plan to speed up firearms matters. I sought a report from the Commissioner of Police, and he's indicated that it is ongoing.
Going into detail about the conversation between himself and the Director of Public Prosecutions, Minister Monroe says the discussion ranged from firearms cases to punishment for bail violations.
One is people being released on bail, as they tend to be very high in the victim pool of homicides. So we addressed that. We addressed the persons who violate the condition of bail and the need to have their bails revoked and then returned to custody if they're not going to follow the rules. And then lastly, we addressed the need to speed up the prosecution of trials. We've had success in the firearms trial part of it. I'm made to understand we're having some progress in the revocation of bail aspect of it, and we continue to work on speeding up the trial.
When asked on the decision to bring back the Swift Justice Initiative, Minister Monroe says the decision is common sense, saying that justice must be delivered on a timely basis.
Swift Justice was just a moniker that the previous BLP administration used. Clearly, it wasn't liked by the administration that replaced us. There wasn't such a focus on it. We're refocusing on it. And as I say, we have arranged to have a meeting, and in a meeting with the Chief Justice and Senior Justice in charge of the Criminal Division, we've agreed to have a task force to look at it, to, as it was, slimline it and speed it up even more. Little small things that may make a huge difference.
Minister Monroe says the task force should be in place by the first quarter of the new year, while reiterating what he feels is an issue with judges having up to 5 weeks vacation. Thus, up to a year, judges are lost to the vacation time. He said the initiative is aimed at getting more production out of the justice system. With just a few days left until the start of the new year, the country's murder rate once again at 127, exceeding last year's count of 119, and is the highest since 2016, when the murder rate was 146 for the year. Last week, Prime Minister Philip Davis said his administration is concerned about the nation's escalating murder and said the homicide count is unacceptable. Former Prime Minister Dr. Hubert Minnis, while commenting on the rise in crime, says even one murder is too much, and says he is still waiting on the crime plan the government says they would put forth.
And I think all Bahamians should do their part in trying to keep crime to a minimum, whatever is necessary. And I wait to see what the government's put forth.
Do you think?
Then I'd make more comment.
Do you think the government has a plan to address crime?
They have said they had one. We've been asking, and I've been asking in Parliament for a very, very long time. But in spite of whatever they did or planned, the crime rate, robbery, assault, murder continue to rise, and that is unacceptable.
Dr. Minnis says in the coming years, the government must not allow crime in the country to get further out of control. In the latest in the development into the saga of bankrupt cryptocurrency exchange FTX, its U.S. management team is warning those who received payments from the company's former executives to return those funds voluntarily, even if those funds were donated. The crypto exchange new management team even suggesting that if monies are not returned, they will consider using legal avenues to recoup those funds. FTX, in a press statement on Twitter, invites those who received funds to make arrangements for the return of such payments by contacting FTX debtors. FTX debtors say those donations were made using funds from the cryptocurrency exchange customers. The FTX statement notes that to the extent such payments are not returned voluntarily, the FTX debtors intend to commence action before the bankruptcy court to require the return of such payments, with the interest accruing from the date any action is commenced. FTX US filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy in a court in Delaware last month. It is reported that FTX has donated some $140 million to charities and politicians. It is not clear whether FTX's demands affect donations its former CEO and co-founder Sam Bankman-Fried donated to charities here in the Bahamas, where he donated millions of dollars to public and private NGOs. And finally, in this segment, Cable Bahamas Limited, in a statement responding to the accusations by Executive Chairman of the BCB, Picewell Forbes, who on Monday evening said that Cable Bahamas Rev TV intruded on ZNS's broadcast of the Boxing Day Junkanoo Parade when CBL redirected ZNS viewers to cable channel 212. CBL executives say they are disappointed by the accusations levied by the Broadcasting Corporation of the Bahamas, who called the move an anti-competitive approach. In its statement, CBL says it is committed to providing exemplary coverage of Junkanoo, not just to Bahamians, but to the world at large. Add to that, the Broadcasting Corporation of the Bahamas breached the terms of the broadcasting conditions, and as a result, Rev TV subscribers on New Providence, Grand Bahama, Abaco, and Eleuthera were directed to watch the live broadcast of the Boxing Day Parade on Rev Channel 212 for a limited period. Cable Bahamas contends it was not an anti-competition tactic, as suggested by the Broadcasting Corporation of the Bahamas, noting that its partner Alive has made significant contributions to getting Junkanoo back to the people through a multi-year, multi-million-dollar sponsorship of Junkanoo. The statement went on to say it is unfortunate that other media broadcasters and their partners, by all of their actions thus far, have attempted to hijack the hard work of Alive's contributions to the Junkanoo groups. Cable Bahamas executives say they look forward to an amicable resolution to this matter. We'll take a break here. We'll be right back after these commercials.